RVs, like the motorhomes, they just don't have that nice cabin cottage feel to them. They're just a big plastic box. RVs are usually made mostly of fiberglass and particle board. So a lot of the cabinetry, it's all particle board. The carpets, the glues and resins that they use, it's just a much more toxic environment than something like this. I would rather see one of these pull up out into nature versus an RV. They have such a homey feel to them. This one is 9 foot wide by 27 feet long. This is one of the biggest ones that we've ever done, and probably the last biggest one that we've ever done. It's a little too much to be considered a tiny house. It's almost in the park model category because it's over 10,000 pounds, and in order to drive something like this on the road, you have to have a Class A license. We pretty much solely build things on trailers just because Santa Cruz County is really strict in their building codes. It's one way to kind of skirt around some of the issues as far as county permit process and all that. We built the first one and parked it up right up here, and people just really went nuts over it. So ever since then, we've just kept it going. Technically, you're really not supposed to live in a tiny house on a piece of property. They kind of frown upon that. But really, it kind of depends on your neighbors and the environment that the house is in. We built this one for a client, a woman out in South Carolina. She just wanted a kind of a smaller one. This is one of the smallest ones that we've done. It's 16 feet long by 8 feet wide. It's pretty much all her design. We just built it to her specs. Kind of a cool little feature that we like to do is a fold-up deck. So this little deck just kind of folds up. It's just a little addition on there.
So it actually like adds square footage without adding square footage?
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the smaller houses that we've done. So this is a pretty small deck. Usually when you do a much bigger deck that's the width of the trailer, you have to do hydraulics, and it's kind of a process, and it's heavy for one person to move. It just folds up, and you just hook it with these turnbuckles and tighten them up. First place this house is going to go is Maine. So from California to Maine, it's quite a journey. Just like that, and then it's ready for travel. So you just hook the other one on, and that's it. And it has legs that fold out, so when it's in the down position, you just fold the legs down. And yeah, it's pretty simple, but it really gets the job done. This little feature. It's totally road ready to go. We tend to overbuild everything that we do for structure purposes. So everything has hurricane straps. We use hold downs for all the framing, bolting it to the trailer. So it's really overbuilt for what it is. And we incorporated a Dutch door on this one. So it has the double Dutch door, which is kind of a neat thing that we've never really done before. This one has a nice Dutch door. She's going to have a mobile dog training business, so I guess this is going to be her little kiosk, as it were. Kind of cool. We get a lot of questions about using sheetrock in a structure like this, and it's not really a good idea because it is a moving structure and the taping joints tend to crack. So that's why we usually do with some sort of paneling. This is a birch ply, a 1/4-inch birch plywood paneling. It's just a little more rigid and holds up to the stresses of moving. The sealer that we put on it is really just a mineral oil. A lot of people want to do stains and paints, but that stuff is just really toxic. This kitchen, we build all of our cabinets. So this comes out 18 inches from the wall. We just did a white Formica on the top. This was the customer's choice. Again, you wouldn't want to do tile or any granite or anything because that can potentially crack any type of stone. So you want to make sure whatever you use can take some flexion. We did a nice stainless steel double sink in this one. The fridge has just got a little 4.0 cubic foot fridge. Pretty small, but gets the job done. And then over here, I did the bank of drawers. It's kind of a hidden bank of drawers. You can put all your stuff in there. Under here is just more shelving and storage. This is a big closet. So this is one of the smallest houses we've done, and ironically it has the most storage. It's a really good design. I really like the way it came out.
She did a design though?
Yeah, she did the design on this one, and we just built it to her vision.
Is she an architect? She just threw up
No, she just had a thought in her mind of how she wanted to do it, and yeah, I think she did a great job.
So anybody can design a house in a sense.
Pretty much, yeah. Here's the bathroom. It's pretty small. It's got a tub in it. It's a 40-inch tub. It's a little over a foot tall, so it's got a bathtub, which a lot of tiny houses don't have. And there's also a escape hatch, fire egress door. So if you need to get out in a hurry, you got a escape hatch. And when you're taking a shower, you can look out at nature or whatever you want. Yeah. This one we built a composting toilet, which is a nice design if you're off-grid, because a lot of people don't have access to city sewer or septic systems. So it's pretty basic. It's just your regular old 5-gallon bucket. You do your thing and you do your sawdust on top of that. This is one of the smallest sinks that we've ever done. It's pretty funny, but it's functional. It works really well. This you can find at RV outlets. So some of the parts that we use in these homes, because of course we need to scale things down, we do use a few RV parts. Like this is an RV sink, and then this is an RV sink as well. It's hard to find sinks to fit an 18-inch countertop, so you really have to try to pull your resources and try to find things that fit the space. So yeah, this is just a bank of cabinets that we utilize the space under the stairs. So yeah, when you're building a structure like this, of course you want to utilize absolutely everything. So we get a lot of people, elderly people, that are interested in living in a tiny house, but they don't want to climb up and down a ladder, which makes perfect sense. It's got a lot of storage in there. So in our builds, we're trying to implement staircases that are functional. It's building a house that pretty much everyone can use. If you even want even less space taken up, we built this little stair at the bottom to be removable, so you can move it out of the way, and it just becomes a hallway. And then this box here actually doubles as storage. You can open it up and put more stuff in there. Trying to use every square inch of the space as possible. We did the vaulted ceiling, so when you walk up the ladder you don't hit your head. It's a pretty big loft. It's an 8 foot wide by 6 foot deep loft. It's plenty big enough to put a queen size mattress up here. Usually what people do is they'll do like a futon mattress, so they just kind of throw it up over the rail. But this is a shed dormer is what they call them. So the rest of it is just a typical A-frame roof. So we bumped up this side, the shed dormer side, to be able to incorporate the staircase without hitting your head into the A-frame side. It's all kind of knotty pine ceiling, which we like the way the wood looks. And it's all insulated. Yeah, and we put a little 24-inch fan in here, so when you open both of the end windows, it turns it into a nice little wind tunnel in here for ventilation. Those little fans really kick out the wind. It has a second loft. That loft is a 3 by 8. You can either use that loft for storage, or you can get another ladder and use it for another sleeping loft.
So this could be a 2-bedroom.
This technically could be a 2-bedroom for sure. Mom and dad and the kids. Lots of windows, I think, are really key in a tiny house. The more light that comes in and the more visibility you have to the outside world, the bigger it's going to feel. This is pretty nice. It has an opening skylight, so you can open it up and look out at the stars at night. So to open it up, you just unclasp the straps. The outside world! And we put the solar panel close to the skylight, so it's easy to clean the solar panel. When you open the skylight, you can reach out and clean your solar panel. If you want, you could probably even put a little deck out here. It's becoming a lot more common that people are using these to go out in nature and just kind of get away from it all and live off grid. This is very similar hookups to an RV. It's really, really quick and easy to hook up. So again, this house is hooked up on a composting toilet. So the only water that's coming out of this particular house is gray water. You can use biodegradable soaps and you can re-harvest the water and water your garden with it or whatever you want to do with the water. But usually on this type of a system, you can either do holding tanks or you can hook it into a city sewer or a septic system. So this house has its own on-demand hot water heater. It's fed through this valve down here. Basically, you hook a regular RV-style garden hose up to it, and that charges the whole system. And the hot water heater supplies its own hot water for the whole unit. And in here, this is where we keep the bank of solar batteries, the charge controller, the inverter, and the electrical sub-panel to plug it in. It's all 110 electrical, so it's pretty standard that you'd find in a house other than the solar.
Economically, does it make sense? Because I know the cost of solar is not cheap.
Yeah, a system like this, to have it installed with all the parts and labor and everything, is around $4,300. So the price of solar is really coming down. So when you want to make the house hot, just plug in your power and turn it on. This house will be totally off-grid, so for her this was a great option. Yeah, it's self-sufficient. It runs really well. It runs the refrigerator, it runs all the lights. You can plug in power tools if you want, so it'll run it. So we actually installed a switch that goes out to the inverter in the utility house, so you can actually turn the power on and off from inside the house. Just in case your batteries are getting low and you want to just shut the house down for the night, you just hit that button and it just cuts the batteries off. That's it, power's off. This house it's pretty small. The bottom floor is about 136 square feet. And then if you want to add the lofts into the square footage, which they are considered living space, that bumps it up to about 200 square feet. So these can range in price anywhere from $25,000 all the way up to $90,000 and above. So it really just depends on how complicated you want to get with it and what amenities you want to have in the house. This big casement window here, just this window alone is like $1,200 window. But we tend to find recycled materials. The only problem with it is basically you want to build around the windows that you buy. So you accumulate everything that you need for the house, windows and doors wise, and then you build to those dimensions. These go for a little bit more price per square foot, just because there's just some more dynamics that you really have to take into account when you build something like this, because it moves down the road. The plywood on the inside, it helps with the shear factor, and the plywood on the outside is the shear factor. We also do a lot of cross bracing throughout the building to just, again, make it a little bit more of a rigid structure so it doesn't move and twist and contort on the road. So that really does drive up the cost of these, and a lot of people wonder, well, why are they so expensive? Well, that's one of the main reasons, is there's some engineering involved with building one of these houses for it to be safe. If you were to build one of these yourself, typical cost for building something like this is between $10,000 and $18,000 just for the materials. And if you build it yourself, I mean, you've got a home for $18,000. That's great. And if you have a few tools and a little bit of know-how, you can really do these. And you can make them your own and really design them to whatever function you want them to have.